We are What is Wheel of Jeopardy? And this is our minimal increment demo. Today we'll be updating you on our project plan, showing our risk management strategy, showing you the architecture updates, software updates, speaking on the requirements and deliverables, showing you a product demonstration, and then talking about what to expect next.
This slide shows the features of the 4 increments in our project plan. As we will see in future slides and demos, progress has been made towards a final target implementation. Specifically, we have already delivered a front-end back-end client-server type chat with a basic GUI in the skeletal increment that has been iterated on further. In this minimal system increment, as you will see during the demonstration of the application later on, we have delivered a graphical user interface enabling more than 2 players to play the game Wheel of Jeopardy as we have implemented it. The game includes other minimal increment features such as multiple player enrollment, win conditions, as well as game logic. Next, we'll hear about the advances on the timeline and deliverables from the project plan, as well as risk assessment and mitigation on the system. A link to the revised project plan has been included, which summarizes some of the features talked about.
In the efforts of mitigating risk, there are 5 types of risk impact categories, which include new, untested code, user and functional requirements, application and system architecture, performance, and organization. These 5 categories are minimized and monitored by publishing project status reports and including risk management issues, revising risk plans according to any major change in the project schedule, in addition to reprioritizing risks, eliminating those with the lowest probability, and brainstorming potentially new risk after changes to the project schedule have been made. One risk the team has encountered is the creation of the client server. Initially, the goal was to create a Wi-Fi based server where players from different Wi-Fi networks can join. In order to minimize the risk of unfunctionality, a local client-based server was created, allowing players to join in on the same game. Likewise, another risk the team faced was coding prior to the creation of the design document, questioning the organization and the performance of the code. The risk was then mitigated by planning, then coding, providing a sound framework for what is Wheel of Jeopardy. Future risks may be catered to debugging the software and creating a stronger application towards the user's needs.
Here you will see a package diagram illustrating the high-level architecture of our Wheel of Jeopardy application. We have divided our application into 4 main components. We have the graphical user interface, the communication layer, the server, and the data store. In the graphical user interface layer, we have multiple views that display to the user. Some of our most important game screens are the wheel, the question board, the start screen, and the wait screen. When the user interacts with these screens, the controller prepares messages to send through the communication layer to the server. Our communication layer is done via WebSockets. When the server receives messages, it prepares updates for our models. Our main game models are the player, the client state, the server state, the category, and the question. The data that we are persisting is the categories and the questions. Given the limited scope of data that we are needing to persist, we have decided to store this data in our code rather than using an external data store at this time.
The team's implementation of the software design document has been running smoothly. The class specifications have been implemented to the point of minimal functionality. The logic covering the major scenarios has also been implemented and functions as described in the documentation. Presently, no substantial departures from the design document have been necessary. Throughout the discovery and analysis of the design process, no major modifications to the software requirements specification have occurred. All of the high priority requirements documented in the SRS, as seen here, have been achieved. The team is continuing to implement the documented medium and low priority requirements, with only performance and user experience-based requirements left to fulfill. The team has continued to meet all deadlines set by the stakeholders. The team is happy to report that no substantial modifications to the schedule have been necessary throughout the project. As seen here, all deadlines in the project have been met. Given the rapidly approaching final deadline, the team is confident that this trend will continue and the target system will be delivered with no delays.
The following is a demonstration of the working Wheel of Jeopardy application thus far. The demonstration will show real gameplay using the graphical user interface and illustrate the essential functionality. The working features delivered for the minimal increment, as well as features to be delivered for the target increment, will also be discussed. The Wheel of Jeopardy game includes two different types of applications, a single server application and multiple client applications. The server and client applications communicate by sending each other messages over a socket connection using TCP/IP protocol. The server application consists of the backend server and data store subsystems, while the client application consists of the front-end client subsystem. To begin the Wheel of Jeopardy game, I will start the server application. The user can select to start a new game from the main menu. To begin a new game, the user is prompted to select the number of players. Once the user has selected the number of players, a server is started. The server will listen for new client connections to accept and start the game once the desired number of players have connected. Here is the client application. The player is prompted to enter their name. A wait screen is displayed until all other players have connected. Here is the second client application to be used by the second player. Once two players have connected, the server starts the game by broadcasting the game data to each connected client. For the minimal increment, we have implemented a graphical user interface. The user interface includes a spinning wheel that contains the following 18 sectors, randomly distributed. 2 sectors for each of the 6 categories on the Jeopardy board, 1 lose turn sector, 1 free turn sector, 1 bankrupt sector, 1 player's choice sector, 1 opponent's choice sector, and 1 spin again sector. We have added a button to spin the wheel that is only enabled when it is the player's turn. We have also implemented a Jeopardy board containing the questions and categories for the current round. The Jeopardy board displays 6 categories, each containing 5 questions. Finally, we have implemented a player info panel and a round info panel. The player info panel displays the stats for each player, including their name, score, and free turn tokens. The round info panel displays the current player turn, the number of spins remaining in the round, and the current round number. As you can see, there is a separate client window for player 1 and a separate client window for player 2. The spin button on the client window for player 2 is disabled because it is currently player 1's turn. Switching to the client window for player 1, we can see that the spin button is enabled. The player can spin the wheel to take their turn. The round info panel is updated with the number of spins remaining in the round. The wheel has landed on a category sector, so the player must answer the next question in that category. The questions are answered in order of increasing point value. The next question to be answered will start flashing. When the player selects the question text and 3 possible multiple choice answers are displayed. The player can select an answer and submit. Since the player answered the question correctly, they are awarded the corresponding points and get to spin again. The player info panel is updated with the player's new score. The wheel has landed on a spin again sector, so the player is instructed to spin the wheel again. The wheel has landed on an opponent's choice sector, so the player's opponents will get to choose the next category. Switching to the client window for player 2, we see that the opponent is prompted to select a category. When the opponent selects a category, the next question in that category will start flashing for the current player. The wheel has landed on a free turn sector, so the player is awarded 1 free turn token. The player info panel is updated with the player's number of free turn tokens, and the player gets to spin again. The wheel has landed on a lose turn sector, so the player would ordinarily be forced to end their turn. Since the player has a free turn token, they are prompted to redeem one. If they do, they can spin again. The wheel has landed on a player's choice sector, so the player gets to choose which category to answer next. The wheel has landed on a bankrupt sector, so the player loses all of their points for the current round. The player info panel is updated with the player's new score. After spinning bankrupt, player 1's turn ends, and the game switches to player 2's turn. The round info panel is updated to display the current player's turn. Switching to the client window for player 2, we see that the spin button is now enabled, and the player can spin the wheel to take their turn. Here, player 2 is answering the next question in a category. Since the player answered the question incorrectly, the corresponding points are subtracted from the player's score, and their turn ends. The player info panel is updated with the player's new score. That concludes the demonstration of features implemented for the minimal increment. Remaining features to be implemented for the target increment include handling of the end of a round, handling the end of the game, and adding a set of Jeopardy questions for round 2.
What to expect next? As the team, What is Wheel of Jeopardy? We hope that we have instilled the confidence in you that we are on track to provide a full target increment implementation of our game, as promised. We are making continued progress and believe that the full target increment is within reach of the target deadline. In addition, we are making continued progress on our dream features and are confident that at least some of these features can be met. A link to the updated software requirement specification document can be found on the slide presented below.
In conclusion, This skilled team, called What is Wheel of Jeopardy, is making rapid progress. We are ensuring software quality with risk management strategies. Our deliverables will be met, and our goals are being achieved in a timely manner. So what is Wheel of Jeopardy? We like to think of it as a synonym for excellence.